show, and we've got a producer very kindly helping us from America. So that's handy because I couldn't get through to the studio this morning.
And put your person in there, and
I know. Can you go a bit louder with your sound?
So is that better?
A little bit better, yeah. You could be louder, but
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's the tablet. I don't quite have a big professional soundboard set up or anything. I'm just on a tablet. You alright?
Yeah, well, me too, because this morning I was a bit exhausted. I've just started a new job, so it's nice to have a job. I'm working for a detective agency now, full-time employed, so that's great. And yeah, so that's good, and it's a good detective agency, and feeling more stable and happy with that, you know?
Yeah, it's good to hear. Good to hear. Have they been keeping you busy?
Yeah, I was really busy and working weekends as well, so I'm a bit exhausted, but not this weekend.
Yeah. Well, my work never stops. My work never stops. People from America or Australia, they ring me at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, terrible. So what was always happening? This woman saying mean things about me that, I've had so much trouble with the American women in the truth movement, linked to bases, linked to Miles. I didn't have Miles Johnson. I didn't have any trouble with this particular woman. She had argued with another one that I'd also argued with, but I didn't have any problems with her. Now, I was asked to do somebody had something in their house, like an entity, so I basically said, that I could I talked to this woman, she was Indian, and I basically said, that I could do a house cleansing. I wasn't sure about banishing the entity, but I could find it for her and tell her about it. Before I went there, I'd said the same question to you and this particular woman. Oh, how would I do a house banishing cleansing to get rid of this entity? And she had come back and said to me, oh, but you can't charge for that if you can't do it. It's really bad karma. Now, I'm, really do have a close relationship with Yahweh, and certainly wouldn't lie, and certainly wouldn't, I'm kind of well known for being absolutely rubbish with money, which is why I'm poor. I'm terrible at negotiating proper and fair pay. When I worked as a private investigator in Fleet Street, I didn't ever get fair pay. I managed to get myself an accountant who didn't let me charge expenses. And so I was conned out of the house I own. So I've always been, me and money, I've always been like an idiot with it, and I'm the last person to make the accusation, well, you shouldn't charge for banishing if you don't know how to do a banishing. And I had then wanted to respond back, but she'd then gone into a diatribe of, I don't need any of you people and all this stuff, and blocked me. I didn't quite know what she was on about. But
basically,
I wanted to... Pardon?
Basically, she's what I call, well, what I deem on the internet, a chicken Wiccan attention seeker. So these people, they call themselves Wiccan, but they don't follow the beliefs of the Wiccan religion, because the beliefs of the Wiccan religion, one of the primary beliefs, is you do your thing, be happy, and let other people do their thing and be happy, But some people, they watch movies like The Craft and Practical Magic, and they decide, I'm a witch. And what they do is they read a few books, and they get involved in a few chats on Facebook, and then they see something that doesn't quite resonate with their idea of what being a witch is, or their beliefs, or their morals. They start to bash the heck out of you for it, which conflicts with the primary, thing of being a Wiccan, which is kind of like do no harm to others and let them do no harm to you kind of thing. But these people do this for attention. They do it for attention. She was probably secretly really hating it that nobody asked, that nobody asked her to do the job.
But it was in England. It was in England, and that there seems to be
you can do it over a distance, though, right? Anything can be done over a distance. When you work magic and spirituality, you will realise that spirits and energies are not bound to a physical locale. Not necessarily all the time. They can transcend time and space. If certainly magic can, if done correctly. I could do a banishing here. And in fact, I have done exorcisms on dark magicians in America who have got themselves in trouble with rivals and had nasty things put on them. And I have literally conducted a voodoo exorcism from my kitchen using the symbology of the crossroads. So it can be done internationally, but these people are haters, and what they do is they troll the heck out of you to try and force you into their belief, sort of into their belief thing. And there's a few reasons they do this. One, they're trying to look superior to all the other trolls online, so they think, yeah, look, I can bully this person down, so I look hard. Two, they're trying to look knowledgeable, even though they don't know anything at all. And three, usually they're telling you that you can't charge because either they don't have the confidence to charge themselves and they secretly hate it and they're jealous about it, or they've misunderstood the concept of spirituality and they've misunderstood the concept of it all, and they're sort of like following a preset religion. But even when you look at religions, people say you can't charge for spirituality, so why the hell do you give money to the collection plate then? Do you know what I mean?
No, but she is charging, and she's started up a shop selling
Exactly. So she
and all that.
had absolutely no right to tell you that you can't charge at all. And the only reason she's telling you that you personally can't do it is she's alpha dogging you. And what I mean by alpha dogging you is she's basically saying you can't take money for that. You're not good enough, right? But my I know he swore then. It's a load of rubbish. Yeah, it's an absolute load of rubbish. If you can perform the task successfully with no negative comebacks, yeah, you are good enough, yeah? And why the heck should you do it for free? You should charge for it. I've been charged since I came on the scene publicly with my magic. I've been charging from day one. I mean, I started off charging a lower rate, but I've been charging from day one. Anyone that told me that I can't charge I just laughed at. I just absolutely laughed at. Absolutely laughed at. I could give you the name of a man now, yeah, right, that works for A-listers in Hollywood. He won't confirm who they are and everything, so it'd probably be a waste of time talking to him about it, yeah? But he works for A-listers in Hollywood. This man takes $2,500 for jobs I take £100 for. Can't tell people they can't charge. One of the key aspects of spirituality, if you want to be successful in spirituality and in your ascension, you have to look after you first. And unfortunately, we live in a world where cash is king. So to look after you first, yeah, you have to get your money. And if the only way you can get your money is to be spiritual, then you use the gifts you have got to get your money. Don't just let them be dead and then go, oh crap, I'm depressed and I can't ascend now anyway because I can't meet my own needs as a human. No, screw that. Look after you, get your money. Anyone trying to hate and hold you back, tell them to get lost, yeah? And I saw this and I thought, I know what this person is. This person is just an internet troll bully, probably doesn't know anything and all that. So I basically told her to go forth and multiply, shall we say, because we're on the radio here. I basically told her to get lost in a very unpolite way, and she carried on chirping at me about karma. And then I took her to school. I went, listen, you don't even know what karma is. You're not even a Hindu. Karma doesn't even apply to you. I says, and it certainly doesn't apply to this woman, because this woman follows Yahweh. She's not a Hindu, right? Karma is based on the Hindu system of Dharma, yeah? Right? Dharma is a prescribed life path. So just to put this straight, yeah? If my Dharma, yeah, was to be a horrible person that went around cutting kittens' heads off, and I became a vet instead, yeah, I would still get horrible karma because I didn't follow my dharma. This whole, the universe is going to get you for doing this, that, and the other.
But hang on a sec, yeah. No, I hear you, Ed, but the fact is, I believe in being kind to people. Now, she said this, I left out a bit of the story, because she said to me about, oh, you can't charge for a banishing if you can't do it. Now I thought, hang on, this is a so-called friend, but she wasn't a friend. Really, I was only speaking to her because we had this other woman in common who I'd fell out with. She's not someone who I would actually be friends with. I'm not sure I liked her because she made loads of posts about how homeless people deserve it and all this kind of stuff, and sexual posts that I thought were a bit over the top, right? So it's not someone I would normally have as a friend. So just someone I knew on Facebook, actually, rather than a friend. Anyway, so I said, you know, and I said to you at the same time about how to do a banishing, because I wanted to help this woman. I wanted to help this Indian woman, okay? And I said to her, basically, I'd come to her to do a cleansing, but, you know, I couldn't do the banishing, and said that I would charge it this low amount, but for do a house cleansing, you know, it would take masses of effort from me, okay? So this person let's call her Kathy, said, oh, you can't charge for that if you can't do it. And I was like, hang on, why are you speaking to me like that as if I would? If you actually know me, you would know what I'm like. I'm an absolute dolt over money. All my friends tell me, I've actually one particular friend who says, make sure you charge people when you go. Stop doing things for free, because I am free all the way along the line. I literally worked for someone the other weekend who hadn't got work, put them in touch with this agency I'm working for. They gave them work. I had to oversee them the whole weekend and literally spent that time overseeing them for free, so they got money. And actually the guy who's employed me said, why did you do that? And I just said, to help out. I suppose some people can't understand people that do help others, and that I might take this woman and say, well, I can help you in a certain way, and then take my free time and ask people that I know, how can I help this woman? And that is what I was doing with her. She has a certain mindset, obviously. She's quite brittle, so doesn't understand somebody doing that. She presumably, I presume, thought that I was going to say, I can banish this spirit, and asking her, before I was going to see her, oh, how do I do a banishing? Now, there's something wrong with that as well, because number one, I know Eric Coetting, and I've had about 3 shows with him, one on Max Spears, another 2 on Rituals, and we've talked about all that off length, and I've talked to him off air all about that off length, so I know full and well what to do. I also know a Jesuit priest, Michael Barrow, and I also know a Catholic priest, Michael Fuel. Now, I've got all these resources open to me, but according to her, I have to ask this lipsticked up woman with high heels how to do it, and I don't actually even believe that she knows. I think she knows someone that knows about magic, but it was chit chat. It was girly chit chat. A light came on, so I thought I'd have a bit of conversation with her. But I was actually asking you, Edward. You were the person that I wanted to ask about it. She was there and she said hi or something. So I thought, well, I'll chip in, and I said, oh, how do you think, because I'm like that around women sometimes. I don't know what to say to them, so I'll say something kiss ass, as if you know more than me and all that shit. It's a fault in me. Anyway, she seized on it, acted like a little gremlin, and said, oh, you can't charge for doing that if you don't. And I thought, how dare you talk to me that way, as if I'm a person that I'm not. So I put back to her, well, thanks very much, and carried on. I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to speak to that woman again. I don't like her post. She's not very nice. And I unfollowed her. Anyway, we were talking about banishing, you and I, Edward, and you told me how to do it. But I still, even though we'd spoken, I still wasn't confident, Anyway, went over to this woman's house and was there for hours, literally hours. And I said to her, the spirit was in one particular room. I told her all about it, and I've been there for hours, and I had to leave. Anyway, I told her how much it was, not £65, which for being a couple of hours, and I was completely drained, isn't right. And the journey to get, it's not right. It's not enough money. Anyway, I said
I charge 100 plus expenses. So if I've got to go to London, they pay my damn train fare to London as well.
I know, and the time involved, it took me 2 hours to get to her house and 2 hours to get back. It was a long journey, and it was crazy, and the whole thing was crazy. And I came back and I was drained from doing it, And actually, this is unbelievable, and I hate even telling it. And I have a friend on the internet I didn't tell the story to, because she was very angry that I had charged £65. She goes, you are making yourself ill. You're very talented. You can't work for this little money. And I didn't have it in me, and she probably listened to this show. The woman said, oh, I'll pay you next time. I'm going to have you come back and do readings, so I'll pay you next time. And I haven't. Well, she's okay. She sent me a text, but I think it's goodbye to that money, really, So I didn't get paid anything. Anyway, I was sitting back at home, and I wrote a post about it. But I actually felt very proud of myself that I'd located the entity. So I posted about it. But, I'd found the entity, and felt pretty chuffed with myself, but that I hadn't managed to banish. Anyway, she sends me a private message. Oh, you went to someone's house and charged for a banishing. You weren't clued up in how to do it. You're going to get bad karma. Oh, really bad karma. And I just thought, I didn't know what to say, but I was just, I did a little speaker thing, and I said, "You don't know who I am. You know, don't talk to me about comment." Anyway, but she blocked me. So she bloody blocked me, and then so I didn't have recourse. And then I had helped her by introducing her to Miles Johnson. I'd coached her on, you know, how to come across to people, very soft, and you know, tried to help her in a certain way. And she said to me, "Oh, that hasn't done me any good. That hasn't done me any good." But I saw she got radio shows out of it. And then I saw her a week later. She'd done another show with Miles Johnson, and they'd actually talked about me. And she said somebody, but leaving out my name and saying, you know, which is fair enough. It's not nice to say people's names. Leaving out my name, saying, "Oh, they'd argued about doing reversals." And that was another thing she said to me, that, "Oh, you're asking me to do a reversal. Don't charge for things you can't do." She's very obsessed with me and money, you know, very obsessed with...
A banishing is not a reversal.
No,
So
we talked about reversals as well earlier on. Yeah, earlier on. And she said to me in this last note, she said, "Oh, you'd asked me about reversal." All shit. And I'd only asked, I wasn't... Oh, it's England here, okay? We don't have many people saying, "I want a reversal, I've been cursed." Just doesn't really happen, okay? And I have certainly never done it for anybody else. I know how to do it. Anyway, she had gone on this program about how she's brilliant at reversals, how she's done it on these women who have been attacking her with black magic. And I know there are women in the truth movement all over in America that do the black magic, because I've had it done on me. And I had Coetting on my show in 2016, and I said I was getting a troll. It was a man, actually, and his friend told me he used black magic. He's English. And I said live on air specifically to Coetting how to do I reverse it. Now, he spent the whole of the show telling me about reversals. So clearly I know. And then this woman says back to me, "Oh, you're pestering me to find out how to do a reversal. Well, you can't charge for a reversal if you don't know how to do it. But I'm not going to tell you. My magic is my secret." Oh, what the hell? It's just crazy, you know. That's mad. Drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's all pretentious posturing and bullshit. She was just basically trying to alpha dog you, right? What it is, yeah. Right?
Yes.
If you break it, like I'm trying to explain to you, if you break it down psychologically, yeah, what it is, yeah, is she's a failure, unfortunately, without being offensive to her. And if you're listening now, I'm really sorry, but you are. What it is, yeah, is just let me get this out, please. What it is, yeah, is she's a failure, right? This is why she's obsessed with money. Unfortunately, right, she's either not ready to practice, yeah, and she's tried to do a business too early and no one's bought off of her, and she might have had to give a few refunds out, yeah, right? Or, right, she's not built up a name big enough yet, and she's seeing all these people that are good, and she's thinking, why ain't it me? Why aren't people coming to me and that? And then somebody comes to ask her about something, and instead of actually giving the information away, because I tell you now, a banishing and reversal can be found in any book, any magician. Now, the craft I do, yeah, the craft I do is one of the most sacred and secret crafts in the world. I've been taught things by people in Haiti that will literally get a contract put on my head if I give them away. And I don't mean just a spirit. I mean some guy will come to my doorstep and put a bullet in my brain if I give it away. It's that secret, yeah? And even I can tell you how to do a reversal and banishing, because it's not secret. It's, in fact,
it's not secret. I mean, Eric Coetting.
In magic, when you spoke to E.A. Coetting, right? In magic, when you spoke to him, yeah, right? I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he will have told you, yeah, it is beginner level stuff. You don't do magic, yeah, and start messing around with spirits and messing around with spells and messing around with manifesting things in other people's universes and changing things, yeah. If you can't banish and balance those energies, and if you can't reverse what you've done, in order to be able to safely practice, you need to be able to safely undo, reflect, and basically you need to be able to clean up your mess if you make one, right? And that is what a reversal and a banishing does. And you also need to be able to protect yourself. You don't do magic without being able to do those. So it's not her magic, it's her secret. It's her bullshit. She was trying to alpha dog you publicly, yeah. She got pissed off, right? Somebody else stuck up for you. Somebody else stuck up for you. I stuck up for you. Now, this week I've been doing extremely dark work. So when I spoke to her, yeah, I had half a bottle of rum inside me for one, and I had dark spirits around me for two, and they were telling me all this stuff to say to her and do to her and stuff. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to do that. And I just basically told her to shut her mouth because she doesn't even know what she's on about. Because what annoys me is people misappropriating the term karma and using it as a threat, right? The universe doesn't care. The spirits do care, yeah? But the universe doesn't care. Sometimes when you die, you'll have lessons to learn. Sometimes if you're going off on a crazy one, the spirits will come and they'll do a G-check on you. They'll come and put you back in your place, yeah? But these are only in really dire circumstances, yeah? Right? And so whether you're charging for a service or not, that's not on you. That is on you. That's not on them. It's not on the universe. It's not on, it doesn't take you away from your prescribed life path, so it doesn't affect karma. Now, what people misconceive as karma is the reciprocation of energy. So basically, if you do a service for someone, let's say her assumptions were true. I know they're not, but let's say they are, yeah? And you did a service for someone, you had no idea what you were doing. You were just doing it to get the bread, right? You took the money, the service didn't work, yeah? And you kept doing that for somebody. That wouldn't give you bad karma, but that person would eventually get peed off, and then they would find somebody like me who then would actually do something about it. You see, so that's not karma, that's a reciprocation of energy, because you've left the bad energy with them screwing them over, so then they've passed it back to you through somebody else, kind of thing. That's not karma, that's a reciprocation of energy. Just in the same way that if you're very nice to people and you put things out there to help people, yeah, they do it back. But some people don't, though. Some people leech off that, like the person you probably never hear from. I get this all the time as well. People say, oh, can you just tell me how to do this, and I'll hire you for this job. And I used to, you know, when I first started, I used to do it all the time. I used to give them a big, long description of how to do it, and then I never heard from them. Now I just go, nah, I don't give free advice out, I'm afraid. But people try to tell me I can't charge all the time. I can't really say on air what I tell them, but it involves a middle finger.
Yeah, it was her. I think it was her. I think with these women, I think it's it is. What?
It's jealousy. It's jealousy, right? If you're making money, right? End of, yeah, you're a journalist.
Yes,
yeah?
but I don't. I have to say, Edward, that you know,
you've got a job.
Edward,
it's jealousy.
Yeah, but I have to say, I don't make I don't make money in the psychic thing. Now I'm working full time. I might have to jack it in, but I would get, you know, one job once in a while and charge, you know, a low rate. So it's not something, because it drained me. You know, it drains
not
me.
Always about money. That's just what people say. That's just people's excuse to rationalise it. It's also about attention. It's about you're getting more attention than them. People are talking.
I think it's about attention. Yeah.
Them people that they like are paying more attention to you than they are to them, and they're thinking, what's special about this woman? I know if I tear her down and expose her and say she's a fraud, I'll get all the attention. It's that kind of thing. It is. Even if you're not, I mean, I'm not driving around in a McLaren. I live in a council house in Featherstone
Hello?
like some stuff out of Shameless. Do you know what I mean? Right? But I get the haters. I get the haters by the spades. And I'm not exactly Bill Gates.
I know, she's got a thing about money as well. She said, because I was complaining recently, you know, I was out of work, and it's like, you know, oh, how can you be psychic if you're out of work? But the fact is, I was in contact with God a lot. I use my psychic stuff. I earned, you know, six-figure sums working for the newspapers, using it, and I went through a period of not having money. Now I needed that period of not having money, and I needed to be absolutely on my knees that I would get closer to Yahweh, that I would use Psalm magic, that I would get closer to him. Now I'm closer to him, and I'm back, you know, earning money as an investigator, you know, using what I want to use, you know, and I needed that lesson, you know. I didn't want to be, and that's something that particular person has as well. I remember looking at her Facebook, well, her post came up, and she was posting all about how people that are homeless, people that are poor, they deserve it, you know, they haven't, you know, they're not in touch with their spirituality, and it's complete and utter nonsense. And I thought, you know what if I'd have, you know, bought property when I was earning well, and I would have been extremely well off. I might have been like that, looking down my nose at people that were struggling, or looking down my nose at people were having bad patches with money. And thank God I'm not like that, because we're taught different lessons, and lessons with money are a real way of making our soul grow.
They are indeed. It was a very important lesson you learn, and normally most people of a powerful spiritual magnitude that are going to be somewhere or go somewhere usually learn this lesson. We've all of us that are genuine and real and strong, have all been through extremely tough times that have included an extreme series of poverty. And I think what happens is life needs to break you down. It needs to take everything from you. So all you've got left is basically yourself and your relationship with the spirits and your will to do something about it. And then what you've got to do is, when they hold out the hand, whatever spirit it is, with me it was the Loa, with you it was Yahweh. Whatever spirit it is that holds out their hand and says, listen, I can help you fix yourself, but you've got to do the work. Then you've got to take its hand and do the work. Some people don't, some people do. We're the ones that do. We're the ones that we lost everything, life broke us down, and we took the spirit's hands, and we progressed. Now, some people, they start the path, but then they get lost on the path, and then they start telling people how they should practice and what they should do and stuff like that. And unfortunately, in the occult, I think this is because a lot of the people can't take the energies involved, and some of them turn to drugs. And I don't just mean a bit of cannabis. Some of them turn to hard drugs, such as methamphetamines, for example. This causes them to go on crazy rants and power trips and, I am God, I am superior to everybody, kind of thing. And this is not good for them. At first, they start to do this kind of thing to take the edge off, because they don't know how to ground and deal with these energies properly. See, after a massive ritual, you should take about 24 hours off and ground and just chill out, basically. But instead, these people, what they do is they start doing the pipes and stuff and that to take the edge off and that, and then they go crazy. And then it starts to affect the success of their business and their perception online, and they start to fail. And then when they see somebody like yourself, who is popular, who is coming up, maybe who's not massively successful like EA Coetting yet, but who is coming up, yeah, they think, what's she got that I am? They don't think, oh, maybe she's not a method. They think, what's she got that I am? Why, I'm going to troll her. I'm going to make her look bad because she's coming up and I'm not. What they do is they try and what they say in the States, ride your wave. They're trying to come up off your come up. So it's like in the UK music industry, grime artists do it all the time. When somebody releases a song that gets in the charts, all the others will start doing what they call beefing them. So writing bad songs about them just so the press see them, just so people see them. That's the kind of thing she's doing with you as well. She's alpha dogging you just so people see her. But the thing is, she's doing it at the wrong time. You see, the community used to tolerate this, but now the community is getting sick of it. If you look at all my friends lists, look at the posts on their walls, they're all getting sick of this kind of behaviour. So people like her aren't being tolerated anymore. She'll end up getting removed from groups and everything, and she'll lose all credibility because people are now saying, yeah, instead of hating, put your magic where your mouth is and prove you're right.
Mm. Yeah, no, I definitely felt that stuff just because I posted about my success. Yeah, and a lot of people were going, "Oh, it's amazing. That's really good." She then posted nasty stuff in Messenger to me, and I thought, wow, and then blocked me. I think she was really angry about it, but it was odd because I had got her the Basis interview, and that had helped her know in, and then she'd got interviews by on the radio, and maybe she thought, oh, someone's going to see Christine and want to interview her, but I'm not putting myself out there as a witch. I mean, I'm quietly learning magic, quietly. I'm not, I've only been using psychic readings to help people, and medium work. But, I find that really, really draining. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I saw someone and they had cancer. They were dying of cancer, and, somebody wanted a reading done. It was a friend of theirs. So I went to do a reading on him, but he was in such a bad way. And I channeled his parents, and I, candle lit the room, smudged the room so it was smoky, candle lit. And I brought through his parents. They were waiting for him on the other side. But he had so much fear in him, so much fear. So I was trying to take the fear out of him, and I did some laying on of hands, which I haven't done before, but I just wanted to. It's like Spirit told me to. Now, I suppose
That's
if I'd have...
That's, that's your higher self telling you how to soothe him. I get this as a Reiki practitioner. When you can help somebody, when I can help somebody, my hands start to tingle.
Right. But if I'd have posted that on Facebook, she would have probably got all angry and said, you shouldn't lay down on hands if you're not trained or something like that. But it was like Spirit was telling me, and it wasn't I was there just to do a reading, just to, take away his fear, talk about his parents. And I'd already sat there for an hour, over an hour. But it was after that I told him to lay down on the settee, and I put my hands on his stomach. He had stomach cancer because the Spirit told me. And I wasn't going to, it was like I was dying to help him, and it was something within telling me. And I was trying to draw out something dark that I felt, and I felt it go up my hands into my elbow. What?
Sorry, I'm listening to you. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, I put my hands on his stomach, and it was so intimate in a way, like it was just I felt very close to very close to him as well, and I tried to draw the darkness that I felt that he'd got the cancer mixed with, because he'd been afraid in his life. I think fear had caused this cancer to grow, and I was trying to draw the dark energy that I felt there up into and I just saw it come up into my elbows, and I called on my guides and said, let me help, please help, use me to help. And I was trying to channel some energy into his stomach and then draw out the darkness, channel the good, draw out the darkness. And I did that for quite a while until something told me that was it. And the next day I felt weird. I felt hugely connected to him. And his wife made me hot milk, and I said, make it golden milk, because I'd seen a vision of golden milk. And I said, give him plenty of that turmeric stuff. They were Indian, they were Sikh, that is what they use. And I said, get a picture, because I'd asked him about how he sees God, and he said he sees God. He doesn't know how to visualize God. And I said, well, when you think of God, what do you see? And he said, a temple. And so I said to her to get a temple and put it by his bed. And I told him to imagine himself in a little casket as a baby floating down the river, going inside the temple. And he would be really taken care of inside the temple. And so I told her to get this picture. And we found a picture together of a river and a temple in India. I said, use that particular picture. But she was making the golden milk, and I said, I want some of that golden milk, please. And then the next day, I started researching stomach cancer and eating stuff that people with that would eat. And I felt just massively connected to him, that I wanted to somehow heal myself, but I haven't got it, It was weird. What do you think went on there? I mean...
It's a form of Reiki that you were doing, a form of psychic energy healing. Okay, so what you need to do now to prevent illness is you need to cleanse, because you drew the energy up, but you didn't transmute it. So now, floating. This is why This is why you feel connected to him, and you're getting cravings for things that people with the illness would eat. Now, the energy of that illness is inside you. It might not grow a tumor, but it is capable of making you sick. What you need to do is cleanse. You need to do a chakra meditation, and you need to cleanse. What the correct process of that would have been to allow the dark energy to flow up your arms and into your heart chakra, which is your healing center. Then you would have converted it into a green energy, which is a healing energy, and then you would have filled his body up with it, all of his body, not just his stomach. That's how a Reiki healer would do it. Now, your guides and your guardians have probably put some sort of block in there to stop it growing a malignancy within inside you. But you really do need to cleanse. You really, really, really do need to cleanse. But what was happening is your higher self was guiding your psychic senses to healing him using a form of Reiki. A form of Reiki which is actually based on a technique, a vampirism technique, So vampires work by draining energy from people. Now, a common misperception is people think that vampires are only capable of eating positive energy, thus causing harm. That's bull. Vampires are capable of eating any energy. So basically, you perform the form of vampirism by eating the negative energy. But now you've eaten this negative energy, you need to cleanse it in order to digest this so that it doesn't harm you, so that you can break it down. Or you can focus on digest. Were you there?
Sorry, Karen.
Sorry, it's all scratchy.
Sorry.
So, or you can focus on the energy within inside yourself, and you focus on changing the color of that energy into what you perceive as a healing color. Some people perceive green, some people perceive gold, some people perceive white. But you could focus on that energy within yourself, and then you could actually transmute it into something positive. So you either need to clean or transmute the energy, or do both. You've removed some of the negative energy around him. Around the illness, so potentially some of the symptoms may subside for him for a short time. Some of the pain may go away for a short time, but that's what your higher self was doing. It was instructing you on how to alleviate it, and how to draw the negativity of the situation around it. He may even be a bit more euphoric about himself, but this will only last for a short time, especially with such a serious illness, because the magnitude of the illness will psychologically be weighing on him, causing him to manifest negative energy in his own microcosm anyway.
Right, yeah, I feel, so I was taking I feel very sort of connected in that if I eat because I was eating fruit, I never eat fruit. I tell people I eat fruit, but secretly, no. I got friends that go, eat fruit. I'm like, yeah. But I don't, secretly. But I do buy it as well. But I was eating fruit. I was just eating fruit. I thought, it's almost like I was thinking I've got to get rid of the cancer. And I found myself, pardon?
Energy. Yeah, because you took some of the energy from it into yourself. So now your psychic senses are telling you what I'm telling you. It's saying, get rid of it. So you either need to cleanse or transmute it.
Right. I bought some Indian artifacts as well. That was weird because I felt so connected to him. I'd rather try. Pardon?
It's the emotion of the situation as well. When you deal with somebody who is potentially terminally ill, it's a very emotional situation, and psychically part of yourself reaches out to that person, and you do feel quite connected with them. I do a lot of energy healing on people that are terminally ill, and I'm quite a strong individual, and sometimes I come out like in floods of tears, and like my partner's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I can't even tell her, because it's not with me. It's not my pain. I'm just floods of tears. That's because you're connected to them, isn't it? You feel their sorrow, you feel their pain. It's because you're connected to him, and because you're connected to the situation at the minute, you've still got some of the negative energy from him inside you. That connection will not weaken until you cleanse.
But I don't feel, I don't, after seeing people, I always cleanse, even though, a lot of the time, because I'm bringing through dead relatives, and, once or twice they've spoken to me when I've been, when I've left the person. So I always come home, have an Epsom salt bath, and say I break all ties to the person, and get the water spelled up, and then get in it, and then normally it's okay. I mean, I did do that with him. I did it the next day though, because I felt it was kind of rude, but I thought I'd be dying to sort of drop it. I mean, I did say to the woman, the guy's wife, she said, "Oh, you're going to give me a reading now?" And I'm like, I did journey a long way to get there. I mean, it was a 3-hour drive out. It was bloody miles away, nearly, up in the north direction. And so I was exhausted, and I said, "I'm contaminated, so if I give you a reading, you'll be contaminated." But I got home and I didn't bathe straight away, which I normally do. And I just went to bed, holding a crystal, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of my larger ones. And I woke up the next day, and immediately I wanted to take stuff for healing, and then I went and bought the Indian artifacts, and the connection was really strong. I really wanted to get a picture of a temple myself and look at it. I almost felt as if I could heal it in myself, it would transmute back to him. But that's silly, isn't it?
Well, you've taken some of that energy among yourself. It's more than possible for you to be able to heal, but with, especially with terminal illnesses, as an energy healer, you never ever promise a cure. Never promise
No,
a
I
cure.
know I didn't. I don't do a Carissa now and said, "Oh, Christine, if you promise a cure, you're gonna get really bad. Come here, you bad bitch," and then disappear. That would be
Yeah,
her stuff.
yeah,
No.
yes. As long as you know, you never promise a cure, and always tell them to continue their medical treatment. But
Oh
you
yeah,
took
obviously. No, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah.
basically, you took
Yeah,
some of his
obviously.
energy. You took some of his energy, some of his aura in, yeah. So now you've got some of him inside you, yeah. Which is why you're getting the, like I said, it's why you got the connection to him. It's why you're getting the thing towards the Indian stuff. It's why you feel you need to heal and stuff like this. Transmutation, and you need to banish the energies. If you've cleansed, you need to keep cleansing. Because there's a lot of negative energy around the malignancy. For example, in voodoo, one of the most vile curses in voodoo, the spirit grows a malignancy inside your enemy. Basically, it fills them with that much negative energy that it grows a malignancy, right? So by you drawing this negative energy away, you've effectively weakened the malignancy for some time, but you've taken that into yourself. It's kind of almost like you've got a knife and fork and chopped a bit off and eaten it. Do you know what I mean? So now you need to get rid of it. Otherwise, it could make you sick. And I'm not saying it could grow cancer in you. There's a possibility, but it's a really small % chance. But it certainly could make you sick, or it could even start affecting you mentally. Could the energy? You see, if the energy is not strong enough to grow a malignancy, it'll think, well, how else can I mess it up, right? Go this way instead.
Yes, but I feel. What about if I healed it and sent it back afterwards?
Well, that's what you can do with transmutation. That's why we're telling you, when you were linked to him, you can take it. You could have taken it into your heart chakra, concentrated onto it there, because your heart chakra is your healing center. So you take it into your heart chakra, concentrate onto it there, and change the color of it. So you can change the color of it into green, which is a healing energy directly from your heart, or it's a stomach where the cancer is, so that would be yellow. No, that would be orange, an orange color. Sorry, for the sacral chakra. Which would help the stomach, or a golden type kundalini energy. You could change it into either one of those and push it back into that chakra, and that would transmute the energy and start a healing process within himself. But either or, I mean, just removing some of the negative energy will still help. But like I said, you could have transmuted that and changed it into a different energy and then given them it back.
But why can't I do that now?
Well, you could. That's what I was telling you. You can focus on that energy within yourself. So you focus on that part that you've absorbed from him in yourself. Go into meditation, focus on it, change the colour of it, focus on him, and send it back through the psychic link you've still got with him.
Oh, okay.
It's like a two-way. It's like a two. Imagine the psychic link's a two-way street. You don't just have to take stuff. You could send stuff and all.
Hmm. Why do I have to? Why am I eating fruit all the time? I mean, and I didn't want to eat meat either. No meat. Just want to eat fruit. I expect it's good for me, but what?
Because your body's trying to tell you that it needs to be healthy. It's trying to promote things that do cleansing as well, and that flush you out, and that are full of antioxidants, because it's aware that it's got this energy inside it that it doesn't want and doesn't need and is harmful to it. So what it's doing is it's going, right, we need to build up a barrier of protection and we need to flush her out. So it's making you eat things containing high vitamins and things that are high fiber and things that are high antioxidant on purpose to put up a barrier and b flush you out. It's like a natural defense mechanism. It's like an instinct. Your body's
Yes,
going.
but it's weird. I'm getting the thought as I'm doing it. I must cure my stomach cancer. That's the thought that goes along as I'm reaching for it in the fridge. Like an involuntary thought, but that's the thought I'm having, you know?
Yeah. So go into meditation, transmute it into a positive energy, and send it back to him.
Right. Okay.
This is probably be your best bet. I mean, if you want to be selfish, you can transmute it into a positive energy and consume it.
No.
It's up to yourself. Like, some people would, some people wouldn't. Generally, that's what vampires do. They consume people's energy. But you don't have to. Like I said, you can give it back. You can transfer. You can go, right, we're going to turn the bad into good and send it back. But you'll find the energy you expend doing this, you'll end up sending less good back than you took bad, but all the bad will be gone, because there's kind of like a trade-off.
Hmm. And what kind of magic is this?
This is just energy healing. It's like similar to like Reiki. This isn't a kind of magic. I would say it's a psychic energy practice. I guess you could class it as magic. But this is energy healing. When extreme Christians troll me and tell me that I'm of the devil and stuff because I do stuff like this, I say, okay, then I'm of the devil because I do stuff like this, and I don't mind being of the devil. I work with demons, and I'll happily admit I work with and I have relationships with demons. They are awesome. But I tell them, right, if I'm evil, yeah, how comes Jesus put his hands on people to heal them? And they go, and I'm like, was he evil? And they go, and I go, right then, okay, jog on. It's just energy healing. It's using your psychic senses to heal, yeah? Don't let anybody judge you for it or anything either, because, like, I saw a really valid argument on a post the other day, yeah, right? With these extreme Christians, yeah? If they believe that Yahweh created us and he's infallible, yeah, right? If he's infallible and he created us, why did he give us these gifts if they were bad? You know what I mean? So if that's the case, that's what I say to them. I mean, I don't believe that myself. I don't follow that belief train or that path, but that's what I say to them myself. But with regards to what kind of magic this is, energy manipulation is prevalent in every kind of magic. This particular method we've been discussing are kind of on the base of Reiki and Kundalini healing. I can use the draconian current and the black flame as well in order to heal and progress people spiritually. But it's just when you understand the currents of energy that flow throughout the universe, it also helps you understand other magical systems. But in the end, all magic boils down to energy, to basically putting your will and intention behind energy, putting that energy out there into the universe, and that energy creating a change. Whether that does it in the form of a spirit, or whether it's you actually reaching out and removing a badness and putting a goodness there.
What chakra do I blow the energy back then through?
Right, so you basically absorb the energy, right? I'm guessing the energy is probably going to be sat in your stomach chakra, A, because that's where the malignancy was in the target, in the victim, and B, that's also because that's where your body naturally stores energy. So you would concentrate on the energy that's in your stomach chakra. You would draw it up into your heart chakra, which is your healing center. Here, in your healing center, you will concentrate on transmuting it into a different color, either green, some sort of golden Kundalini energy, or the color of the stomach chakra itself, which is orange. And then you would send it back to him through his crown chakra into the stomach chakra, so it'd be go down his body, and it would fill his stomach chakra up. The visualization is like a glass of water fills up. And as soon as his stomach chakra is full of that, yours should be empty. He should have all his energy back, but transmuted into something positive. Although there should be less energy there because there's a trade-off in the process of the transmutation.
Oh, I see. It's interesting. Maybe I shouldn't have done it without knowing much about it. I just felt drawn to do it, you know?
Your higher self guided you to do it, which means you were more than ready to do it. I mean, yeah, there are practices and things that have been put in place by man to better the process and obviously to make the process safer. But don't ever listen to any flesh and blood meatbag telling you can't do something a spirit's instructing you to do. Yeah, I mean, I work with dark spirits, and some of them tell me to do things that are immoral sometimes that I ignore. But in the case of healing or helping someone, or especially with beginner level magic, if your higher self is directing you to do something and your intuition is pulling you that way, don't let some meat sack tell you that you can't do it because they read it in a book that another meat sack wrote. Magic is not of man. Magic is of the spirits. I.e., so don't let anybody of man tell you what is and what isn't. Whether they claim to be the living embodiment of Yahweh or Satan or whoever, tell them to jog on and do it your own way that resonates and works for you. If it resonates and works for you and you get positive results with no comebacks, F what anybody else has got to say about it.
Yeah, it's all these people, I think, that haven't got it going on in spirit and read loads of books on it and then go on loads of courses and then like, huh?
Oh no!
What did you say? Have you spilt something on your keyboard? Hello? Edward, come back. Oh. Hello? Oh. Just put put my sun lamp on. So brilliant. 30 minutes a day of sun lamp, and it's like you're in Barbados. Ed, are you there? Is there anybody there? Mitchell? 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 Gosh, I wonder if the listener even is there. Have I been cut off? Nobody is there. Oddly silent. It is oddly silent. That's oddly silent. I can hear myself, but I can't hear anybody else.
We have you online, Christine.
Oh, okay. You can hear me, but what about Edward? Mitchell?
It looked like Edward just dropped.
Oh, has he dropped?
You want me to try to pull him back in?
Could you? I will wait.
I'm calling him back right now.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, okay, go ahead. I'll carry on talking. I've just put on my Lumi light lamp, and it's absolutely fantastic for... I think Edward is back now. Edward? I've got no mic this week, so I'll be shouting hysterically so people can hear me.
Yeah, we still have you, Christine, but we don't have your guest.
Oh, I wonder why. Can you friend him? Can you send him a friend request and try and bring him on?
You sure? I just tried to call him back a second ago. Maybe he's offline. I'll check again.
Okay. Gosh, I don't know what to speak about for the second hour. We are in the second hour, and Edward has left us. So I guess we should talk maybe about psychic practices. I've been psychic since a child and was into lots of magic books. I was adopted, and so my mother didn't want me to read the psychic books. I went into the psychic industry and became a investigator. Worked for the ex-Spooks, ex-MI6 guys in London, and worked for them for many, many years. Hello?
No, nobody's there yet.
Okay, his light is still on. And then I got very bored with that and went to work for the press. And when I was working for the press, I used my psychic skills more than ever, and they got stronger and stronger. And it was this that I used to progress myself, and eventually I went to spiritualist churches. I went to one in New York and trained under Ron Fredericks, and then left because I felt it was just not something I wanted to do. It was something for old people, and I was young at the time. And then I just used my mediumistic skills to talk to friends that had passed over to the other side, and never used that kind of thing to help other people. When I decided to use my psychic to give other people readings about what was going on with them, I put the word medium down, and even though I thought, well, why am I doing that? I'm not a medium. Then the first person I saw, a relative that had passed over, came through. So I didn't expect that at all. And so it has happened to every person I saw after that. Somebody would come through from the other side as well as the information. So that meant that I began to practice as a medium. I have never been a healer. It's not something I want to do. I've got friends that do Reiki. I've read up about it, but it's not something I want to do. I had a friend that there's 3 stages. She took me through the first stage, but again, I thought it all very. I didn't believe in it, and I didn't believe in it because I think that you probably have to be psychic to do it. It probably is something that somebody psychic does, and if you're not open in that way, I think you can't do it. So I think that's what put me off about it. But then I was talking to someone the other day who does. Someone sent me a message, but I don't even think I can read it because I can't bring up my. Oh, there, I brought up my text books. MI6 work. Okay. Okay, I'll do that. And so I started using the medium stuff, and it was only recently the other day. This is. I've just been recently re-employed in my trade as an investigator, so I won't be doing the psychic stuff anymore because I won't have time unless, I suppose if someone's really desperately in need of help. But the last job I did was something where the man was dying of cancer, and, I wanted to help and I really wanted to heal, and I felt frustrated that I couldn't heal him, but of course I can't heal cancer. But I was literally calling on everyone, every strong being, my guides, God, to heal him. And the whole thing was weird. And then I got the message to draw out the energy myself and into me. And I have been carrying it since, and it does feel odd. Yeah, and I did wonder, was it dangerous, what I've done? Literally, I was doing it off spirit, off instruction from spirit. So yeah, I'll take on board everything Edward has said, and that's interesting. I don't feel it's right for me right now to cut off completely from this man, because I just feel, or to dump back his energy with him. I just feel I need to sit with it a while longer. Yeah, that's what I feel. I'm surrounded here by statues of Hindu gods, but actually he's Sikh, so why is that going on as well? I'm just following my inner here. So somebody said in the text, but tell me about your work with MI6. Well, I went to work for, I was introduced into it by somebody from my kids' home. He knew somebody. We were all looking for work at that point, being of age, and he said that he knew somebody that was starting an agency. They were ex-military, they were ex-MI5. Now, it doesn't take a lot to be in MI5. A lot of intelligent middle-class men go from the army, entering at a high level, and then go on and do some work for MI6. And then sometimes they come out of it, and these guys had come out of it and they'd started a private detective agency. It's a lot different from the usual detective agencies that do matrimonial work or do trace work or stuff like that. They do different kind of work, sometimes from different governments in other countries, and it will be often targeting people that are of interest to these governments, and you often have to cozy up to them. Sometimes it involves just keeping them under surveillance. There's a lot of surveillance work. There's a lot of planting bugs, that kind of thing. And that's mainly it, really. It's a lot of what's known as HUMINT, and HUMINT means human intelligence gathering, where it's not seizing information of computers, data, that kind of thing. It is getting information of people And there are various ways to do that. I've always been good at it because I've had my psychic skills, and that helps me. You know, people might come, bosses of an agency might say, I want you to find out if someone's blackmailing somebody. So I will have to meet the two individuals, and then by touching them, I will pick up information and then go back home. And basically, it will kind of come unraveled inside of me. And it will come out either in dreams or like a knowing. And then I will know either who's been honest or who's, you know, it will be not in direct words, but in the feeling. And then from the feeling, I will know what to say to them to get inside their heads, to get them to speak and say the information that the agency needs. So that was my forte doing that. And I did it for quite some time, but I was, you know, as I was saying earlier, this American woman who fancies herself as a, I don't know what she puts herself forward as. She did a radio interview saying she was a witch. So wouldn't say I was a witch. But when the phone hacking came in basically in the News of the World, I was working for the News of the World, the Sunday Mirror and the Daily Mail, and I much preferred the Daily Mail because the journalists there were highly intelligent and they would know just how to use me, and sometimes the other newspapers couldn't really understand how I worked. And although I worked for Greg Miskey quite a lot, he never understood how I worked. He put me in hospital. He put a strain on me by too much work. And from hospital, he went and came and saw me in hospital and basically started asking me to do a certain job while I was strapped up to a heart monitor. I knew at that point I would have to get rid of him somehow. So I knew private investigator called John Boyle, who, again, like me, worked for Hacklight, CAX Limited, Knightsbridge Company Services Limited, all these good agencies, you know, not the other kind. But the other kind can be fun. But the work, obviously, it's juicier, better, more interesting, these agencies. And so I ended up working for these agencies, and I introduced John Boyle to the News of the World with the idea of Boyle helping them. You know, obviously every private investigator knows that you don't do anything illegal for the press, because the story is then printed and then the person who has been a victim of it can say, well, how'd you find that out? And then the newspaper has to fess up and say, well, actually, it was a private detective. So you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. Now, because I'd been a private detective since age 16, I knew all this. And I'd often said, like, to someone called Barry in Nationwide, let's work for the press. And I remember him saying to me, Christine, nope, they'd use you for a couple of years, then they'd turn you over. We've had it done to us before. And then it was a good few years later, and I set up my own agency, and I was sort of farming myself out to these people, doing a lot of work for Carrot 2, which Customs and Excise, HM Customs and Excise, some good interesting work. I have to say, there a lot of the time I was going along as someone's girlfriend, but it was okay. And I thought to myself, you know what, I want to work for the press. And I remember telling a man, he'd been in the business for years and he worked mainly for barristers, and he said to me, don't do it. And I said, oh, I really want to. I think the work will be interesting and varied. And I sent out letterheaded papers to the editors of the News of the World, the Sunday Mirror, and just saying, you know, I'm a private detective, I'd like to work for you. And I had a little picture of me on the front, and I was young, good looking back then, and it did get their attention, obviously, and they contacted me. And I remember telling Bob, his name was Bob, that was it, and I remember telling him, and he said, right, I'm going to show you this. And he sent me, it was the Sunday Times, and it was someone called Leopard, I think Dave Leopard or something Leopard, and some other guy. And they had used a private investigator, I think he was called Paul, for 3 years. And then they'd basically turned him over. So they'd given him work for 3 years, and then they said in the story, oh, this is just to get him, and he's been doing illegal stuff. And then they passed all the documents they kept on him to the police, and the guy went to prison. And he said, this Bob said to me, do you really want this? Would you really work for these scum? And I thought, well, I've got a plan here. What I'll do, I'll work for them, and I'll just use my psychic skills, and I'll do everything the long way around. I'll never, ever, ever go near data. Which is illegal to get data, and if this is what they turn this guy over for doing, obviously not surveillance or anything on people, or even inquiries, data theft. So I thought, no way will I ever get data for anything on a computer for these bastards, because I had in mind, I thought, yeah, they're not nice people. So I went to meet Greg Miskew, went to meet Chris Boffey, and basically started working for them. And I always went the long way round. I never ever cheated, and I always knew. And then I realized there was a problem every time I would be asked to help on a story and to investigate a story. The journalist in question would say, well, how did you know what to say to that person? And I would say, well, I went into meditation first. So they couldn't really steal that from me. But I used to start to tell them, they kind of learned how to think like, did they use other types of esoteric with the purpose of humanity? No, I was basically, well, I'll tell you about that actually, Painter. I will tell you. So basically here I was, and it was 1996, 1997, around that time. And basically I was using that, but I realized I had a problem. I was telling the journalists, who were very intelligent, obviously, they wouldn't get work like that, highly paid. And they say, oh, the tabloids are cockneys and everything, but they're not. They're people with degrees from Oxford and Cambridge. And so they were clever. And I was basically teaching them how to think like me. And eventually they would start doing a lot of it themselves. So I realized I was up against something. So I started to, it was a really difficult job. I would say things like, they'd say, how'd you do that one? And I would listen to their voice and think, oh, why? Because if you get a job like that next time, you're not going to ring me? And so I'd start saying things like, I can't really tell you why. Look, not now. I can't say what. I hacked into the mainframe, okay? And stuff like that. And then I kept that up, that kind of guise of, yeah, I'm doing something illegal here. But I wasn't, again, because I didn't trust them. And word went round about me, and I ended up working for The Sun and a few journalists there. And again, I kept the pretense up when they asked me of, can't tell you. So immediately they thought I was doing something that they couldn't possibly do. But that wasn't so. I was constantly using that technique. And interestingly, while I was working for the News of the World and while I was working with the SAS there, they were using the SAS, serving SAS, to spy on politicians and celebrities. And they were very out of control, the News of the World, I would say. They were dominating Parliament. My ex, Phil Hall, who was the editor back then, he was going to see Tony Blair, having breakfast with him, etc., etc. And I then, this would have been moving on in time, getting later, late 90s, and I got contacted. I was keeping my hand in with surveillance work, so I had an advert in Yellow Pages saying surveillance, and I had the computer firm contact me, and the computer firm said they were called, hello, we're from CIX Limited, we're a computer company, we're along Buckingham Gate, would you come to see us about doing a surveillance? So I said, yeah, fine. And so I brought somebody with me who is an army guy I work with doing surveillances, and sat down with somebody, and they said, it's on this guy. It was a man called Julian Askin, and basically follow him around. But 6 other agencies. We've hired 6 other private detective agencies, the best. They said they'd hired Kroll. Interestingly, CIX Limited was the baby of Kroll. I didn't know that. Probably I should have delved into them, but I didn't delve into them. They assumed later that I had have done, but I didn't. I was just, doing the work. And so they said to me, we're a computer company. We've hired 6 other agents to tell this man. Basically, he was over from another country, staying with a film company in London, staying with somebody there, or put up in a hotel. They didn't know where. They needed to put him at an address. Now, they'd had 6 agencies follow him. He was surveillance aware, but they had to locate him because basically they wanted to pull his phone bill. And so probably other things. God knows what they wanted to do to the poor sod. Anyway, I tailed him. When we came out of there, it was along Buckingham Gate, and Martin said to me, you know who they were the spooks. And I said, no, they weren't. And he said, yes, they were. And I'd worked, obviously, for these ex-spook agencies. And they didn't seem like it, I have to say. However, there's layers of ex-spook agencies. Obviously, there's people that, you can get not low life, but low-level people in MI6, lowers in MI5. And, but this company was run by Michael Oatley, who's obviously a senior officer. He's quite famous. He's done a lot with the IRA, which is interesting because when I was working with the News of the World, I did a lot on the IRA. I'd gone over there and had this relationship with a real IRA commander. So it was kind of weird that it was that agency. But what happened, Martin and I did the surveillance. We used radios, followed the guy here, there, and everywhere. And basically, in the end, he went to a nightclub. He went here. He went there. He was just trying to kill time until we gave up. But anyway, eventually we chased him down a back street in London. He knew. And he jumped on a bus, turned around and faced me. And I just thought, what's the point? And there was a part of me that wanted to jump on the bus and I just thought, he's just not going to go home. So I just looked at him and I said, I give up. And he laughed. And that was it. And I rang Andrew. I think it was Andrew Jones, he's called, who was running CIX for Michael Oatley and James Oatley, and he said, I said, I've lost him, and he said, fine. And I went home, and I wasn't really happy with that because I like to get results, and I was always with the newspapers I got results, so I was rather unhappy, and I went home. And a few days later, I went to the News of the World. I was going for a drink with Greg, and I went to the offices, and it was about 9 o'clock, and I was meeting Greg to go to the News of the World, to go to the Old Rose for a drink, and he was still busy. So I sat at someone's desk and was just basically, sitting there, just not doing anything. The offices were all empty, and I had a communication telepathically say, ring the number now, ring the number now, ring the film company. And I looked at my watch and I said back to this communication, why would I ring the film company? It's 9 o'clock, they're closed. And again, it come through urgently. So I had the number. Now, I don't know how I had the number. Maybe mobiles must have been around at that. Yes, they were. And so I had the number, but I dialed from the office. And somebody picked up the phone, and I was quite surprised, and it was a cleaner. And I said, oh, and I thought, had some quick thinking. I said, oh, I have a parcel for such and such. I know he's living with someone. at the office. I can't think who, but we've got to get it to him tonight. And the cleaner said, oh, he's living with Jerry. Jerry is putting him up. And so then I had my man. Then all it took the next day was to, when they opened, was to ring and use a kind of blag to get Jerry to tell me basically where he lived, simple blag. And so we got where he lived, then we got the phone number, and then I got the phone number, and then from there I rang it, and bang, the target answered the phone. So we got him, and so I went back to CIX, and basically they said, oh, how did you do it? And I said, well, I psychically did it, it's how I work with the News of the World. I use that, and I've used that investigations for a long time, and they listened and didn't give me any happy feedback. I was waiting for, oh, did you? Fantastic, we can use this again. Instead, they seemed, I don't know, almost angry. And then all of a sudden, and I'd gone back on my own without Martin. Martin was, after all, my employee, so I'd gone back on my own. And next thing, about 6 men came in the room, and it was a boardroom. 6 men, and they introduced themselves. One was something anti-terrorist, the other was something again police. They were all police, and they sat down, and all conversation about the job was stopped. It was basically, they said to me straight away, how much access does the News of the World have to the boys of Hereford? And it was so unexpected, them coming out with that. I thought, what? I didn't even know that the computer company that hired me knew anything about the News of the World. So then one of them said, you know who we are, of course. And I didn't. I hadn't looked up CIX Limited. I suppose I would have come across Michael earlier. I didn't bother. I just did the surveillance. But because Martin had said they're the spooks, I said, yeah, of course I know who you are. And so they nodded. And so I guess I appeared at that point more intelligent than I was. I'm not super intelligent. My success in Fleet Street was the gift. Purely that. I'm not intelligent at all. And so they started saying, what else are the News of the World doing? And basically they started interviewing me about the News of the World and how much work do I do for them, and what else do they do. So I told them everything about the News of the World, who they used, blah blah blah, what went on. And it wasn't long after that I had the heart problem and had the idea then to bring in Boyle, to give them Boyle. Boyle brought them illegality. Now Boyle works for agencies like that. Had they tapped my phone and, had they tapped my phone and then realised that I would speak to Boyle and then get in contact with Boyle and say, right, bring them this, and who knows, but they wanted to put a stop to it. They wanted to put a stop to the News of the World, and they were all high-rolling ex-cops, which is weird for a spook agency. You'd think they'd all be high-rolling ex-spooks, but they were police. And what has anti-terrorists got to do with the whole thing? Which is kind of linked, because I got a bomb warning from the Real IRA. I was forging links with the Real IRA. I wanted to do a book, and I was getting good stories. And one time, the phone rang, and one of them said, where will you be at 2 o'clock this afternoon? And I said, well, probably here. And they said, okay, and then hung up. And then I got a call, unknown Irish accent, 2 o'clock, go to your phone box, ring this number. So I did so. I gathered it was important, rang the number. Then I got another number to ring, go to another phone box, call this number. And eventually I did it 4 times, 4 different call boxes. And then on the last one, I got code word, I think Kerrygold, not sure, can't remember. Code word Kerrygold, we're going to bomb post boxes if you don't release our political prisoners. This is a real IRA, ugly and Aaron. And I put down the phone, rather upset. I think there were tears, probably. Straight away, went to see Greg Miskew, told what had gone on. And I said, what are you going to do? And Greg went, leave it all to me. And thinking back, it was kind of odd, because I don't think he actually did anything. I think one post office box got blown after that, but yeah, I was recounting the story to someone and I just recently, and I just thought, hang on, because I just assumed that he would contact the police, MI5, and then maybe do a story on it. No story appeared. He certainly didn't ask me to do one, and I wasn't interviewed by anybody on the whole thing, which, come to think of it now, is kind of strange. But why would he just keep it to himself and go home or go off to the pub? Anyway, that happened. But these especially as Phil Hoare, who was in charge then, was going to 10 Downing Street for breakfast. Strange. Anyway, there was an anti-terrorist guy in the meeting, and he was asking lots of questions. So, yeah, next thing, enter John Boyle, and I brought Boyle in, and he gave them this ridiculous trick. People call it phone hacking because it sounds cleverer. It had nothing to do with hacking. It was actually getting their security number. And of course, when people got mobile phones, the security number was 000 or 1234, and nobody changed it. So Boyle told me it was a scam. Later on, he said it was a scam on the News of the World, that they couldn't find the codes. They just put in 1234 or 000 and would ring O2, say, oh, I've lost my passcode, or put in 000 and then get their phone messages and then change the passcodes so only they could get it. Something along those lines, but I was told that anyway. But then I think it evolved to a point where they could blag O2 and then get them to alter it and rechange the passwords. But it's blagging O2, and it should have always been called that, blagging O2, rather than hacking. It's not hacking, it's blagging. It's using the mouth, the lips, to say something to O2, and then they did it. So basically, also it's a breach in security for O2. So to call it a phone hacking rather helps O2, who have been terribly remiss, and probably they could sue O2 for breaching security because they were blagged by some ex-footballer. So John Boyle trained up this ex-footballer to do this silly little trick, and then pushed him in the direction of the News of the World, basically, making out, I think, perhaps that it was stolen off him, or maybe it was, but it was me that found out, because I went for dinner after I came back from Belfast. I was living there for 2 years, came back, went to Miskew, said I want investigations work, because I'd finished work for the Sunday Times in Belfast, and knew I wouldn't get work for the Sunday Times in London, because the only reason I got work for the Sunday Times in Belfast was because of my contacts in the Real IRA with the commanders. And so I said to him, I need work. And he said, oh, we don't use your long-winded way. We have high tech now. And because I, of course, had been in the business for years and years and knew it more than a news editor, I thought, yeah, really? And I just knew that I'd just have to make a few phone calls and find out exactly what he was doing. So I thought to myself, well, after lunch, I'm going to find out what he's playing at. And but during the lunch, he kept speaking to someone called Glyn this, Glyn that, Glyn the other. And I recognised it as in the way he used to ring me over everything. Because journalists can't really investigate, they do need private detectives. So this used to phone me every 5 minutes. Which led to the heart attack. But so he was on to Glyn. So I don't know what made me, but I just rang John and I said, Glyn, and he went, used to work for me, disappeared back to work in a shoe shop. And I'm like, no, he's working for the News of the World. And John went absolutely ape shit, and he said, I'm going to destroy them. And think made a few phone calls to somebody, and then they were plotted outside Glyn's house, and listening into his every word. And at that point, also the News of the World, thinking they were being clever, Andy Coulson and Greg Miskey plotted to not pay John. So they nicked his little office boy he'd trained in this little silly trick, and they stuffed John for 250k. So John then went and blackmailed Andy Coulson and said, if you don't pay me my 250k, I will tell all the politicians and royalty that I've been hacking. Now, at this point, John Ball was working for The Sun. So now Prince Harry has come out and said, I've been hacked by The Sun back then. My guess is it was John. However, he will never find John, because John isn't the caliber of Glenn Mulcair, a little ex-footballer, not even professional. Greg laughed once and said to me, oh, Glenn is the short as two thick planks. He does whatever we tell him. That's why the poor guy was suckered by them to hack royalty. It wasn't him coming along and saying, oh, blah-de-blah, I can do this. He was trained up in something he didn't know much about by John, pushed in the direction of the News of the World. They kind of stole him off John and made him do all sorts, and the guy didn't know whether he was coming or bloody going. They would have told him, oh yes, legal, you can do this, you can do that. Okay, yeah, he had his own mind, but they're very good at spinning people. I was once told to do this drug bust thing, which was totally illegal, and I was told, no, it's okay, News of the World, and they would have said that to him. So this poor guy, but John got his 250k. Then he collapsed the News of the World for shitting on him in such a manner. When he found out via me. I didn't know they'd done all this, but he found out inadvertently via me that not only had they tried to stuff him for 250 grand, they'd nicked his office boy. Who does that? Which one? Was it Andy Coulson or was it Greg Miskey? Which one of them sat together and their little thick heads said to each other, I know, let's steal this Mr. Big, let's steal his office boy and make out we're private detectives. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And someone was paying these two coconuts a good wage, and they literally destroyed the newspaper. You know, I think it was Greg, because Greg's like that, he's a chancer. And he has a kind of criminal way of thinking, and he wanted to be John, and he hated John, so he probably fantasized, oh, I can be him, his power is in Glyn Mulcair. His power's not in Glyn Mulcair, his power was in his contacts. Anyway, so he nicked him, another stupid person trying to be powerful than someone who's got natural power, and so Boyle then tore down the News of the World. So along comes Hacktoff and Byline and all that, and they're trying to now destroy the Sun and destroy the Daily Mail. They came to me, offered me 25 grand. I know it's peanuts, isn't it? To help destroy the Daily Mail. Again, it's people talking to someone with innate power of a certain kind and insulting them, and that's definitely an insult. So I refused, and I did take the River House for a little while, but I refused to go along with it. And now they're at the point where I met up with the Sun and went through every tiny little thing that I had done. Nothing was done illegal. I wondered to myself, did I ever perchance, inadvertently ask someone something that they got from a computer? But alas, for them, no. I remembered every tiny little human intelligence gathering tool that I used on each and every job. I would always make sure someone was miles away from a computer when I asked them any type of questions, and it was always information that would come out of their minds. I was certainly very clever for working for the press, because you never know when they might turn around and say, actually, here's your time when I turn you over. And certainly I didn't trust the Sun. A lot of the people there were absolutely horrific. And there was a natural envy towards me because I had this skill. But they shouldn't have been envious. Again, it was my psychic skill. I would not know how to do something, and then the next day, after sleeping on it, I would know the next morning. So it wasn't my intelligence. They had no need for envy. But there we are. And of course, Hacktoff thinks that they can now attack me by calling me a data thief. Well, if I'm a data thief, I'd like the police to come and arrest me, please. Obviously, it's a crime. But no, I worked with Operation Wheating and went through everything I did with Operation Wheating and will never be arrested by, I don't care how many remittance advices you get from the Sunday Mirror or the Sun. The fact is, I was going to pass you them, packed off you. Listen, I know you listen to everything I say. I was going to pass you them. And the reason why I didn't, here's the reason why I stopped dealing with Hacktoff, okay? Here's the reason. I was supposed to meet them one day in a hotel in Knightsbridge. Came along, my son was off school, he wasn't very well. Now we got there, I said my son needs something to eat. Now I'd raced there from where we are, my son been up half the night being sick. Raced to meet them, and I think I got there at 1, and I said straight away, my son needs something to eat. Now I hadn't had time to go to the bank, so I didn't have any cash on me. And now these are people paid for. Hugh Grant, Max Mosley, you're not telling me they can't afford a sandwich. I wasn't asking for anything for myself. This is a child. Back then he was 13. He's a child. I said, my son needs a sandwich or a meal. I said sandwich, he needed a meal. And Graham Johnson said no. And I sat there feeling not very happy about this. And he said, sign the contract to say you'll help us for this 25 grand. And then we'll get your son food. And so I signed it without reading it. I was raging. And signed it, and I tend to be bloody-minded when I'm angry. The anger, the red mist falls, and then I think about consequences later. Stupid, really. I signed it in rage, and thought, I don't care what it says, I'm not going to go along with it. You're sitting here abusing my kid, it's making me so angry. And as soon as I said it, Graham said to me, no, you're not getting any food. As a child, I understand he's a psychopath, doesn't realise it's a child, but he said that, honestly, I went to orbit. I was so angry, and I stood up and I said, you know what, you haven't got the remittance advices yet, have you? Anyway, I walked off and I went home and I burned them. I had them, all of them. And not the Daily Mail, actually. They're with somebody else. They're with a friend that's not on my Facebook for anybody to go and burgle them. A very buried friend. So I kept them, and the only reason I kept them, I suppose, proud of working for the Daily Mail for over a decade. So I didn't want to burn them then, but I took all the Sunday Mirror, all the Sun, and I burned them. And I had a little tin bath in the back garden. I poured some petrol in there and said to my son, this is what I do to people that abuse you. Anybody abuses you, I don't deal with them. So here's goodbye to 25 grand because I'm not having you abused. Put petrol on them and lit it. And we both stood there looking at the fire. And yeah, that's my personality. That's how I feel when somebody abuses my child. That is me not dealing with people that abuse my child. That's just who I am. People can abuse me till the cow's gone home. People can say to me, no, you're not having anything to eat, even though I'm sitting there starving. But what does not happen, nobody says that to my child. And but now they think, ooh, was she hiding? So they went and got all my stuff from the Sun and all my stuff, where else from? Somewhere else from. But they couldn't get the Daily Mail. Hilarious. I've got the Daily Mail, but won't be handing it over to child abusers. You can come around and beat me up, which I suppose that'll be the next thing. Still not getting it. I'll just do a vlog with all my bruises, and people then will probably see what kind of organisation you are. Not really an organisation that cares very much about people, and certainly doesn't care about children. So somebody's asking me about astrology. I don't know if anybody else used astrology. They certainly were, spying on politicians, the Prime Minister. I mean, they had so much stuff on. Oh, I could say stuff right now that would get me shot. They had so much dirt on Blair. It's inside my head. They had so much that if I said it right now, I'd probably get arrested. I probably would. So many secrets on Blair that I worked on. They had so much on royalty. Again, if I said it now, I would probably get arrested. There were abortions galore by royals. That's all I'll say. So, yeah. So much going on. I don't know. Did they use astrology? I don't know. I don't think they intended to use me. I don't think they thought, oh, well, we'll use Christine. She's a psychic. A lot of the times, like I worked for Chris Boffey for the Sunday Mirror for years and years. And then a new guy came in called Nick. I can't remember his name. He came from the Man on Sunday. He was short, called Nick something or other. And Tina Weaver came in. Now, they were like, excuse me, who are you to me? Because I was literally called on every single story. And they were like, well, how do you work? We don't understand. So I said, well, I use my sixth sense, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, sorry, we don't believe in that. And they just cut me dead. Now, they took up phone hacking. So not everybody really wanted to use me because not everybody went along with that. And sometimes even like Greg Miskiw, who would use me, he wouldn't believe in all that. You'd have to say, oh, well, I just thought of it. And it was, but intelligent people like Clive Goodman knew it was magic. He called it Christine Hart magic, and he knew. He said, you're a bit funny, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. So some people knew, but others didn't, because it's a very straight world. So they didn't consciously use that. But I did find after the News of the World closed down and the Fleet Street investigations, they didn't use investigators. I did find that I wasn't... Are the parrots going crazy? Okay. And I did... Sorry, I've got parrots. Who are going crazy. But I did find that my psychic skills shut down for a long time after that. For about... a great many years. I was on a kind of a lockdown and I just couldn't use anything. And it's only recently in the last year or so that it's come back. But I did get quite a big slap from life because I was used to using this skill to direct my own life. And to live without that was really weird. And I'd never wanted things like... a mortgage, I'd never had to feather a nest because if you're basically in touch with a higher level, you don't have to have insurance. You don't have to feather a nest because you negotiate your life in a certain way. But with that part of me shut down, all of a sudden I had to negotiate life in like a normal person. And suddenly I saw why people feathered their nests. I saw why people bought houses, bought property, and were insuranced up to the nines, because we're quite on our own down here. We're very much on our own. We're not. We haven't got any help. So you need to do that. You need to feather your nest. You can't live like it says in the Bible. Do not the flowers live without putting bits away. Do not the birds find things to eat. That's great if you're connected up to source and you get information, now do this, now do that, now do that, and you have that otherworldly control. But if you don't have that otherworldly control, you're on your own. And it was after all that shut down and my encounter with CIX Limited, that I was shut down. I just didn't have it. I just didn't have it, and it was horrifying to find myself just like everyone else. And I'd been judging other people as, oh, why haven't you getting on in life? But life is very, very hard, and that is why people store up money. Why they, from a very early age, start doing it, start gathering nuts. There's nothing else to do, and the world without assistance is tough. Dog eat dog, and I found myself thrown into that, and I suffered a lot, really a lot. So there's something unfair about it because you live in a certain way from childhood and then find that sort of removed or something. It's not great. I was quite depressed about it. I was waiting for it to come back, and it has come back, and yeah, I'm just grateful. And now I'm just using that, to help other people. I don't charge much to help other people, which is why I've had to get a permanent job with an agency, back doing investigations work, because it was draining. And I think if I was to use that side of me to help people, I think you need to be paid properly, like maybe a couple of £100 per person you see, because afterwards you can't hardly move, and then you couldn't see another person in the same week because you'd be so suck dry. So yeah, I'm glad that I've got a proper income and can support myself again, and I will always be there to help people, I suppose, if someone was desperate enough. But it's not something I would advise others to use to make money, because I don't think it works. I don't think it does work. It's just, it doesn't work. Maybe there's some people out there, but I don't know, how do they make it work? I have no idea. Maybe they have business heads as well as the spiritual side. But then if you've got the spiritual side, you don't really have a business head because you're not in that kind of world and you don't really understand it. So, come to the end of the show, and that was an interesting show. Thank you, A Mad Painter, and thank you, Mitchell, very much for producing me. My throat is really sore because I've talked a lot, and yeah, sorry. Has my sound been really bad?
No, your sound is okay. We're still
Okay.
on.
Oh, that's good, yeah. Sorry that I lost Edward.
No, that's okay. Sometimes the best made plans go awry.
I know. So will this show be in the archives?
Excuse me. No, it probably won't be.
Right.
I think I have I think I made a copy of it as we were going along.
Did you?
But yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. At least it's supposed to be set on record.
Oh, right. So,
Yeah,
so
it
are you
shows it's
recording still
recording.
now?
Yeah. Pardon me.
You're recording. Are you recording still now?
Yeah, we're still on. You have about 5 to 7